Welcome to the Tuesday, January 16th, Fishers City Council meeting. We have a few announcements. Let's see. Cecilia, you have an announcement?
Sure. I want to let you know that the We the People classes, the kids, are going to the national competition. And this year, our Constitution 101 classes are going to get started again in February. And this year, all the money is going to go towards taking those kids to the national competition. So the classes will be $100 for the 6-week class. It's a Constitution 101 class and a Constitution 201 class. And so look on the Fishers website for the link to register, but all the money will be going to Fishers High School and Fishers Junior High, We the People national teams. So I'm really excited about that.
Thank you, Cecilia. John has an announcement.
Sure. Is it not? Try that one. It's one I used before. That's much better. One thing I wanted to just take a moment to really kind of call out some folks that have done a great job for us. That's our kind of unsung heroes in our community, the Board of Public Works, and the great job they've done with our snow removal over the last month or so. We've had a number of, a lot of ice, a lot of snow, and they've done an outstanding job. Eric Pethel, Sean O'Grady, and his team continue to really perform at a level that's, to me, unprecedented as a community. You go south of 96th Street, it's not. Even last night, I mean, I always joke, there's two reasons I don't mind getting woke up in the middle of the night. One is hearing a snowplow out in the front of my house. I'm not going to tell you the other one. So,
Oh, come on, John.
no. So I just wanted to commend our team for the great job they do every single day when we have, whether it's cutting grass or moving snow, whatever, they do an outstanding job. So thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Any other announcements? No proclamations? Any presentations? None? All right. We will now have the Finance Committee report. Chairman Stoller. By the way, congratulations, new chairman for our Finance Committee.
Thank you. At the Finance Committee meeting this week, we voted and recommended for approval the request of the city controller to transfer funds and to recommend for approval the purchase of blanket security bonds and public official bonds for the city of Fishers. Additionally, the mayor presented the fiscal impact.
Turn that on. There you go. There you go.
Additionally, the mayor presented the fiscal impact of TIF in Fishers. The presentation elucidated the quantitative evaluation of the implication of the TIFs for the city. With further development, Fishers hopes to provide leadership to other communities to consider such evaluations to educate citizens on the impacts within their communities.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate your leadership on that. And all the hard work on the Finance Committee, just in general. I think those that are on the Finance Committee. Next item is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion? Oh, yeah. Might want to do that, yeah.
I think Brad's got a motion to make somewhere.
Yes, so we have election of officers for this year.
I am honored to make the motion to nominate the esteemed Todd Zimmerman as president of the Fishers City Council for the year 2018.
Second.
A motion by Brad, second by Pete. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate working with each one of you. It's going to be a great year. I want to make a motion for vice president of council for Rich Block.
Second.
Second. So a motion by Todd, second by Pete. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, that passes. Congratulations, Rich. Yeah, now, on to the consent agenda. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second.
Motion by Pete, second by Eric. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
I'm going to make a note that I'm abstaining from item D in the consent agenda. I have been gone through the various hearings.
All right.
Otherwise, I'm okay.
Abstention by Rich for item D, and then any of those opposed? Okay, consent agenda passes. On to ordinances. Ordinance 011618. Ordinance establishing Parks and Rec agency fund related to community-provided partners. First, second, and third reading.
Lisa Bradford, City Controller. This is simply a kind of budgetary item. Starting in 2018, the Parks Department is starting to partner with different individuals in a community professional partner services agreement. And so as part of this, these professional partners are fronting the costs of all their programs, and in return, the city is handling all the registration fees, and then based on the enrollment, the partner gets a percentage, and then the city keeps a percentage. And in this fund, we can immediately pay the partner for their service without waiting, and then the remaining part to the city will go back into the general fund as the remaining, as traditionally the parks revenue does.
Any questions?
This is one of the items we reviewed in Finance Committee, and I think Lisa said it right. The biggest thing is this allows payment to the vendor more efficiently and quickly than what the previous process was. Motion to suspend the rules.
Second?
Motion to suspend for Pete, seconded by Selena. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Suspended?
Approved by first reading.
Second.
Motion by Pete, second by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Okay, item number 9, ordinance 011618A. Request to amend Chapter 35 of the City of Fishers Municipal Code for smoking, first, second, and third reading.
Good evening. For the record, Tony Elliott, Parks and Recreation Department. Before the council tonight is a request to amend Chapter 35 of the Municipal Code, also known as the Smoking Ordinance. Currently, smoking is prohibited in all of Fishers City Parks. The language in the ordinance is relatively antiquated, so what we're asking the council tonight is to approve new language that would cover vaping and e-cigarettes as within the definition of smoking within the city ordinance. We would also ask that we extend the prohibition in our parks to include all tobacco, so that would include chewing tobacco as well. This issue went to Parks Advisory Committee about a month or two ago and received a favorable recommendation of the City Council, 4-1. We have a letter from sports as well. Linda Carlino, the recently retired Executive Director for sports, who supported this. This came by a recommendation from the Youth Sports League. Also, HSE schools have a very similar policy banning all tobacco, banning all forms of smoking. So this proposed language doesn't do anything unique, but keeps it consistent with what the schools have on the books and what has been recommended by sports as well. So happy to answer any questions.
First, any questions from council?
Was the school already covering all that, and we're just kind of behind?
That's correct.
Any other questions, comments from
I
council?
appreciate the consistency with sports and HSE, but is this consistent with other communities in our area? Is there a similar application across Carmel or Westfield or Noblesville?
That's a good question. I don't know offhand. That's something we could look into. I don't know if vaping and e-cigarettes have been banned by their parks department. Smoking, I think for the most part, has, but I'm not sure exactly how that's included in the definition for Carmel, Noblesville, surrounding areas. But it's something we could look into.
All right, thank you.
But Tony, really, all we're doing is adding this on to an existing smoking ordinance, which is already in place.
That's correct.
Tony, I have a question. Do we have this ordinance posted in our parks right now, like a non-smoking signs?
No
we do?
smoking signs, yes.
Okay, so then you would just have to amend those signs to add
That's correct. Yep,
the information that we approved today for vaping and e-cigarettes? Okay.
correct.
Okay.
So really, we're talking eliminating all tobacco products,
That's correct. Yep,
not necessarily nicotine. Someone may be wearing a nicotine patch.
that's right. That's right. So all
or
forms
chewing
of
a
smoke.
cigarette, but we're talking tobacco.
Right.
I have a question. When we have concerts in Central Green, would this apply to that as well? And do you have signage there for those?
Part of the parks.
Yes, that's a really good question. So in the ordinance, in the language, we can create exemptions within this if need be. So if you've been to a concert back here, especially a large national show where we may have 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people, people are smoking within the audience. We realize that, but what we could do in this case is via the ordinance, carve out an exemption to allow for smoking, but rather than allow it in the crowd, create kind of a designated smoking area back towards City Hall. So right behind City Hall, we have a city employee smoking area. And that's an area, for example, that we could allow for public smoking in a large event environment.
Doesn't the ordinance say city property?
City, yeah, correct. City property, public property, and parks. Correct.
So we're breaking our own ordinance?
We can exempt it. We can exempt it.
Last year, we've been breaking our own ordinance?
We enforce it to the greatest extent we can with Fishers Police Department and park staff, but at a large event, you may have hundreds and hundreds of people smoking, and so it's kind of an ongoing issue. But so part of what we've talked about with that is do we allow it within the crowd, and we have not allowed it within the crowd, but we have also not up until this point provided a space for people to smoke. And so that would be a decision we could make internally to say, do we want to carve out an area for that during a large event?
So if I go to a concert downtown inside, which is no smoking, they don't provide an area for smokers, do they?
I don't know
Downtown
the exact
Indy?
details,
Yes,
but I
there
think
are.
at Bankers Life Fieldhouse, there's some,
There's little patios.
There's patios
Yeah.
they have, yep. Yep.
yeah.
Well, I am very much in favor of this passing, and I would be open to allowing for exemptions for certain areas, but I would want them to be away from the public, and I don't know what the adequate distance is, but certainly I'm in favor of it, and again, I'm open to exempting certain areas.
Before any motions, I would like to open it up for any public input. If you do wish to speak, you come forward, state your name and address. There is a 3-minute limit, so please be on topic. Share your approval or concern. Don't direct it at anyone specific on the council, just in general to our body, and we will not engage in a conversation with it. At the end of the public input session, then the counselors feel free to answer if they choose to do so. So at this point, I'll open a public input time if there's anybody wishing to speak. State your name and address for the record.
I have some papers for you if you'd like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do I pass these out over here?
Yeah, you can come up.
Sorry.
Go ahead, just speak, state your name
Sure.
and your address for the record.
Sure, my name is Mason Odell. I'm the owner of Just Vapor, a vapor shop off of 141st and State Road 37. I also have a second shop off of 82nd and Center Run Drive in Indianapolis. I opened my vape shop 3.5 years ago. I've helped thousands of your constituents quit smoking. My concern about this proposal or ordinance is the fact that you guys are, not to be combative, we're adding smoking and vaping as one or thing, and vaping and smoking are two different things. The vapor that is produced after you're done vaping, is much different than the smoke that is exhaled when you're done smoking combustible cigarettes. Adding vaping into this combines them and sort of, in my mind, demonizes it and says that they're one and the same, and they're really not. This product is getting people off of quitting smoking, which is what I believe we all are, want good public health, and I don't disagree with that, but I'm not in favor of the combining of smoking and vaping together. Classify them as something different, but do not put them in the same category as what smoking is. I understand the snus or the chewless tobacco. I don't have any problems with that at all. The FDA currently recognizes the difference between vaping and combustible cigarettes. They are determined to reduce the number of the nicotine levels in traditional cigarettes. You can all read about this, but the FDA is backing off of their original stance that smoking and vaping are the same, and they're really looking at vaping as a way for individuals to get off of combustible cigarettes. So again, my concern is public health. I smoked for 17 years. I don't want other people to smoke. We've helped, again, thousands of your constituents, and I have trophies, cigarette packs in my shops of people that have quit they throw away their cigarettes in large vases to help show other people that it's a way for you to stop smoking. And I don't want a bad representation of this product, and I feel like you're classifying it as the same, and that's what I don't want to have happen. It really does help people quit smoking, and I think at the end of the day, that's really what we're all here for and what we want. I hope that we can find a different way. If we're willing to make exemptions in certain places, is there a way that we can go about finding maybe a different way as far as classifying this as smoking as well?
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Come on up. State your name and address for the record.
I'm Stacy London, 34 East Bloomfield Lane, Westfield, Indiana.
Okay.
And I'll be honest, I'm with Smoke Free Hamilton County. I joined that. I used to be with the Washington Township Parks Department. I am now working for Smoke Free Hamilton County, and I'm speaking as a mom right now. My younger daughter, going to school this year, is in 8th grade and was asked to vape at school. I was new to my position back in August, and started learning some of the lingo and the research with Smoke Free Hamilton County. But my concern is that children do not see vaping as something that's bad. They definitely see smoking as something that's bad, but I think we need to step forward in our communities and put in policies in place that everybody sees that vaping is not good. I don't know if you saw the article in the Indy Star talking about how many kids are starting to vape, and it really concerned me that 8% of our 8th graders have started vaping, and up to 20% of our high schools. So they're starting younger, they're building. So I just wanted to speak out tonight. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, this time I'll close the public input session. Councilors have any questions or follow-up comments?
Motion to suspend the rules.
Second. So a motion by Pete, second by John. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion to approve.
Can I ask just a clarifying question, which is, we talked about potentially exempting areas. Are we going to try and include this in whatever proposal gets made? And then I guess, how are we going to define that?
That's a good question. So in the ordinance itself, we can create those exemptions. So I would see it as being operational. So if we've got a large, again, 5,000 to 6,000 person concert, operationally, we can make that decision internally, I think, but that's a discussion we can have with the mayor's office as well. In the ordinance, the language is written such that the mayor makes that exemption. So that's something that we wouldn't do within the Parks Department, but we need to have a broader conversation on when to carve that out and make that exemption.
So it is included already in the language.
That's correct, yeah.
And-
We could, yeah, a designated smoking area.
So that because I think by accepting the ticket and paying for the ticket, you've agreed to abide by all the rules, so if it's on the ticket, then it would be easier for you to enforce.
Sure.
And I can vouch for comments made earlier, as I have children in schools and in our HSC schools, and there has been a trend, especially there's these devices called Juul that look like thumb drives. And so they order them on their parents' account, it looks like a thumb drive, you'd have no idea what it is, and it's actually a vape mechanism or whatever, and the kids are getting those. And so, you know, I'm going to be in favor of this because as you know, coaching within sports and in our parks, I believe it's an opportunity for us to really continue to set that example for our young people in the public spaces that we have.
I understand, I guess, both sides of this thing, but if I go back to the days when I was in high school, and I understand that that may have been a while ago, you need a letter from your parents to go ahead and smoke at school. You know, I remember designating smoking areas when I was in high school, and the kids would go out there and smoke. And the kid thing, I absolutely understand. I absolutely understand the kid thing, which is going on. But to my knowledge, I don't believe they can go in there and buy vape products unless they're under 18. So again, we talk about kids all the time. There's already laws in place that don't allow kids to have that. You know, I have a child in high school who's half of his friends are vaping. You know, and it's condoned by the parents. So I don't know how you stop that. I guess where I stand on the ordinance, I'm not going to sit there and prescriptively say that, you know, we're banning vaping. Basically, we're just taking a policy and extending it over. You know, I hang around a coworker who vapes constantly, and I don't know whether it's good or bad for you. I'm assuming, you know, that it may be okay, but then again, at some point in time, we thought cigarettes were okay too. So, I mean, I think in the long run, something's going to play out here. I think, again, to be consistent with city policy, and we're not telling people they can't vape, we're just telling them they can't vape on city property because it's open to all people, you know, at all times during normal hours that are there. So again, I don't want to look at this as saying that we're banning it or we're not making a choice on that. We're just basically taking the policy and consistently putting it over that says, you know, we're not going to do this in our parks, which is around our kids to set good example for our kids and maybe other adults. I don't want to make any statement whether I believe in vaping or don't believe in vaping, whether it's good for cigarette smokers or not good for cigarette smokers. You know, the schools have taken that action because of nicotine, which we know is an addictive substance inside of there. That's the reason why the schools have taken it. I've had long conversations with them. So I guess, you know, I'm going to support that only because, you know, we're not trying to single anything out. We're trying to be consistent with the schools, and we're trying to be consistent with our policies. And for me, that's a much bigger stand. I'm not making any statement at all on the industry as a whole. I certainly know what it is to be, you know, in an addictive environment and have to try to get off all that stuff. I get that, right? And I wish everybody, whatever course they find to get off of whatever substance they find themselves addicted to. And we don't want to argue that either. So I guess at the end of the day, I'm going to go with the consistency of policy that the city has had, and we're going to stay consistent with those type of policies around. So unless anybody's got any other comments, I'm going to make a motion to approve.
For the attorney, we have Doug Allman, Fall Creek Township trustee. Your parks are different than the Fishers parks, so would you, Fall Creek Township, have to pass an ordinance to be compatible with Fishers parks?
No, they don't have to.
Thanks.
Not yet.
So we have a motion to approve by Pete. Is there a second? Second by Eric. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Item 10, ordinance 112017E. I-Town Church.
Good evening. For the record, Taylor Navarre. I'm with the Planning and Zoning Department. Item before you tonight is a request to hold third reading and approve the ordinance on a voluntary annexation of 2 parcels at East 136th Street and Brooks School Road that will be the future site of the I-Town Church Fishers campus. The fiscal plan was approved earlier tonight in the consent agenda, so I'd be happy to answer any questions, but staff recommends approval.
Motion to approve.
I've got a quick question, and Taylor, this may not be for you, but Scott, I get a lot of questions about the logistics of their campus, ingress, egress. Has that been finalized, or is that still a work in progress?
That's still under review. East 136th Street is actually under Noblesville's jurisdiction, so it's going in front of their TAC review committee as well. It's through our process, or getting through the process on our end as far as the ILP, but it's something that they're coordinating with Noblesville as far as the access points along 136th Street.
Thank you.
Motion stands.
Motion by Pete,
Second.
second by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. And Rich will abstain. Motion passes. Thank you. Ordinance 121817C, voluntary annexation. Ross?
Good evening. For the record, my name is Ross Hillary, Planning and Zoning Department. Here tonight, we also have a third reading for the Spiker Hamilton Hills property. Just for a little reminder, it is located north of East 196th Street, right there in the corner. Here's a map that we did not include on the first reading. It is the floodplain. That red square right there is the property. You can see that about 50 to 60% of that property is at the floodplain, making the majority of it not developable. But again, staff recommends tonight to host the third reading for the property. The fiscal plan was approved earlier tonight in the consent agenda, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Yeah, I've got just a quick follow-up, and I appreciate Tony getting back to me. You know, I make a point on these particular items when we're looking at large areas to annex, that somebody has an estate type of property, they're not gonna go ahead and all of a sudden annex themselves in and subdivide it and, 16 different lots. So I appreciate the effort to come forward and further explain what's going on, and I know there's additional things that are going on in the future. So I have no other issue with this property coming in under voluntary annexation, and I'll make the motion to approve.
Any other comments, questions before we move forward? Okay, motion by Pete, second by Eric. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Item 12, ordinance 121817G. Request to approve a text amendment to the MedTech PUD ordinance.
Good evening.
Dale?
For the record, my name is Dale Davis, planner with the Department of Planning and Zoning. You guys saw this amendment last month. It's a one-line text amendment to the MedTech PUD ordinance, which allows a building to span a property line, and thus we could measure the property line or the setbacks from the outer edges of those joined properties. It got a unanimous favorable recommendation from Plan Commission. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions. Staff recommends waiving the rules for approval at second reading.
So we need to have a second, third.
I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
Motion by Pete, second by Selena to suspend the rules. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, now,
Motion to approve.
Second.
motion by Pete to approve, second by Cecilia. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Any other, thank you, Dale. Any other unfinished business?
Mayor, at the Plan Commission, we approved the ordinance on the forest maintenance bond stuff. Does that have to come before us?
It's coming for final reading next month.
Oh, next month? Oh, okay.
Yep.
Any other unfinished or new business?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Pete, second by Eric. All those in favor? Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you.